Alright, hello everyone, my name is Disc. I'm a title healer from the War Within, here to help you become your group's hero. So before we get going, I wanted to quickly plug my Medify as always. Go check me out over there, great way to support the channel, great way to level up your gameplay. I offer one-on-one private lessons. We can cover pretty much anything you want over there. And also remember to please comment, like, and subscribe on the video. I've been asking that, trying to build some traction before the season starts, and I think it's working. So please give me some engagement. I appreciate the support. And here on the front end of this video, I always like to intro with just like tidbits of knowledge, and I try and keep it, 5 or 6 minutes or less. But I wanted to give some insight into like my thought processes on keeping a clean UI. And there's a couple add-ons I wanted to mention, just some philosophies I live by. You could take them one for one. You could take them and apply them elsewhere. But a couple things. So I use Platinator. I keep everything really clean and simple. I don't even show names on nameplates. And when it comes to buffs and debuffs, I don't even show the number. So those icons show a swipe. I think that's plenty for tracking the duration of a buff. Imagine if you have 15 mobs in the field, they all have dots, and each one of those dots is flashing numbers at you. It opens the door for a lot of extra noise on the screen. And really all I need to know with my nameplates is, are they holding a dot and are they in execute range? So that's one way I keep those clean. Also, I've mentioned in the past, I turn off the CVARs for floating combat text for damage and healing. Does a lot to clean up the nameplate area. A main mission with the nameplate area is just to have it clean and free, no competition with any elements or anything like that. And then with my grid 2, that is a major MVP of this video, highlighting how we've had secret auras, the API restriction lifted. We can now track our atonements with a color shift on the health frames, which is really amazing for Discipline. I've used that method forever. If you're watching my videos, I'd encourage you to try it. So my grid 2 and Platinator are both shared on my Medify. And similar with my Platinator, grid 2, I turn off, I think, every single number shown as metric. The swipe, I think, is plenty. I really don't like numbers flashing at me every second, so I turn all of those off. And then I use the add-on Matrix Plus. So it has a lot of features built in, but I mainly use it for turning off error text. So it's that red text whenever someone's like out of range or spells on cooldown. It pops up in the area of your screen where your nameplates are. So kind of hearkening back to keeping that area clean. This is a subtle change, but I like turning that off just to not have anything overlapping my nameplates. And then a very important thing to keep your screen clean is using something like dominoes. I'm not going to elaborate too much, but I turn off the macro text on my action bars. I turn off the keybind text on my action bars, and this will enable you to have less redundancies. So instead of having like the, what do they call it? The cooldown manager and your cooldown, you just combine that. So you just have your cooldowns on your screen. Does a lot for opening up screen space. And then an add-on I've been using, I think it kind of helps with the immersion, but most add-ons allow you to disable, or rather hide things in combat. So like you'll notice on the right-hand side of my screen, I hide all of those buttons in combat because they're not really pertaining to combat. When it comes to keeping a clean UI, I think there's like one point of view that's like general clean UI, and then how can we clean it further in combat? So then I have an add-on that also turns off my chat box when I'm in combat. That thing takes up about, 10% of the screen. I don't need to see it in combat, and it really helps me like zone in. So I hide that in combat. I hide my buffs in combat. I hide the bar on the right in combat. And then the last thing I did, it might be probably the most subtle thing yet, but I think it's going to help my viewers. It's going to help my videos, and it helps me a little bit too. And it's cleaning up some of the sounds. So every time you hit a keybind with a spell, there's a click sound associated. It's the same click that like when you scroll your chat. There's an add-on that lets you turn off sounds selectively. And I have turned all those off. So you'll no longer hear clicking throughout the 30 minutes of a key. And I think it does a lot to kind of just purify my videos. So yeah, I think that's it for my philosophies on keeping a clean UI. If you have any questions about those, ask, like maybe what add-on it is I'm using, or if you want to know those CVARs, anything, just ask. And here we have the talents that I ran for this key. We are doing a Voidweaver key. So the priest side, there's really just not too much to talk about with talents these days. I am taking Mass Dispel. I think I might use it once or twice in here. Then on the Discipline side, I'm really loving this build, and I probably will be playing this build as I push into higher keys. There may be a breakpoint when I change a couple things around or even change over to Oracle. But what I've done is I'm sacrificing 1 point in our Apex. I don't think it serves too much of a purpose for Voidweaver. And I'm also not going Shadowmend. I think this is a really strong talent point, and I am likely to take it back in higher keys. We will see. But I've banked those points into Blaze of Light. So Blaze of Light buffs your Smite and your Penance. We have talents over here that buff your Smite. And then we have this talent here that buffs your Penance. And those are pretty much your main atonement drivers. This is an atonement forward gameplay. So, you know, if you wanted to play maybe a little bit more safe or a little bit more by like what Icy Vein says or something like that, you know, I consider this a choice node. You might want to go back Lenience. You might want to drop Blaze of Light for like, you know, your Shadowmend, and then you can fill out your Apex talents, something like that. But I'm a little bit more comfortable with Discipline. This is fun for me. You know, we have talents here that buff our Death. This talent buffs Smite and Penance. This buffs Smite. This buffs Penance. Those are our atonement spells, and I think it's really strong. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Check me out on Medify, book a lesson, great way to support the channel. I share all of my export codes over there. Please give a comment, like, and a subscribe on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and clip over to the key. All right, here we go. And I just set my healer macro to fire all of my Radiance and Evangelism at the tank. Very, very helpful as a Disc Priest. If you want to know exactly what I mean and you've not heard me talk about it yet, please ask, I'll explain. But it's a macro that fires all my Radiance and Evangelism at the tank because they are the best person to take that spell 99% of the time. So I am doing my best in this key to play smartly, time my spells right, have good uptime for the sake of a video, compared to my Oracle video where I was kind of half asleep. But with uppies right there, you might have to replay it. The best thing you can do to maximize uppies is get a spell cast before you go up and get a spell cast as you're coming down. You can squeeze them in. Okay, I'm holding a magic dot. I use Desperate Prayer and Fade. There's no global rather than dispelling. I really just wanted to get into my rift here. Grabbed and execute. Looks like I lost a little bit of my dot spread there, but that's fine. Mass Dispel just because I was in between output. And you might also notice it's an add-on I'm experimenting with, but it ties into your frames. It helps you see targeted casts. And I think the add-on itself is still in beta, but so far it's proven to help quite a bit. Okay, so going into this guy, I try and get my focus early on the big one. I Radiance into Evangelism. Then my Rift. And that's something I'm experimenting with too. Collapse my Rift early with a macro just for the output. But a case like that where I had 2 charges of Radiance and I was using Evangelism, I use them back to back. So I Radiance into the Evangelism and it gives me a full proc on Harsh Discipline. PI's out and a Dispel. Rift is out. So it's really important to work Death into our rotation, taking both points in Expiation. But in my Rift window, I try and favor 1 Smite before the Death, just to favor that extension. Okay, let's see. I have my focus target early. This is an area where not having haste is really hurting us. And yet, so when it comes to our atonement spells, for the most part, it's Penance and Death. And I'm noticing now with both points in expiation, the biggest decision problem I'm running into is which do I play first? The penance or the death? And I think it's very situational. Okay. Evangelism into the rift. Gosh, I have no haste. But like, let's say it's a mob that's full health. It's better to play your penance first than your death. The penance will farm up the duration of your dot before you expiate it down. Conversely, if there's a mob in execute, you're going to want to play death first because you're spawning a pet, then your penance second to trigger a torment. Okay, and then on this boss, there's really not too much to it. As a healer, there's only 2 timers I'm really tracking. It's the Arcane Explosion and the Refueling Protocol. I believe on this kill here, all I'm really doing is playing my spells full stop. But in higher keys, you know, it's not a bad idea to start practicing like you're going to play in a higher key. Timing your rift and timing your output on top of those events is going to be better. Okay, we have evangelism, we have uppies. Oh, we don't have fortitude in group. I think I figured that out after the next boss. Okay, this is a really big pull that kind of went awry. I don't think the tank should have done this. I also wasn't ready. But we had some deaths here because he pretty much pulled the entire hallway. And I don't think we see any play here. But whenever there are shields on mobs, you want to try and send your executes there. There's a talent that makes them hit harder and heal harder. Oh gosh. Health potion just to help we live. So we might have been able to handle that. If I had more haste. Forced collapse on the rift there for the output. But that is not a good place to pull that many, especially as you get higher keys. In this hallway you have to watch for dispels. You also have to watch for debuffs that cause you to bleed out. You'll see them on party frames. There's a shield, so I set my execute to the shield, switch my targets to spread my dot back. Pretty good rule of thumb with your penance is cast it on different mobs. Same with your death. You want your death to seek executes or seek shields. There's an example where the targeted cast add-on actually helped save me a dot. I noticed I was targeted for a bleed, and I quickly worked in Shadow Meld. Okay, we have evangelism. And I think also on this boss, I kind of just full send, not the best play. You want to overlap your heals more with Suppression Zone, which is coming up. But I am already sending my spells. Should overlap though. Played my Radiance before the collapse of the rift. If you don't know that, the rift collapsing triggers atonement healing. So it's always a good idea to toss out a group atonement, or at least toss out like a single atonement if someone's missing. Stepping into the dome before the silence. Boss down.
Help
So the runic mark and higher keys, you might want to give them a defensive penance. Definitely a place to put your shields. Definitely a place to play your Desperate Prayer if you're selected. I would say play Fade on top of the suppression zone. I think that's what it was called. There's group damage that goes out on that. Getting a good practice of your personal defensives is great. And there is Fortitude, 10 minutes into the key. Sorry, team. Okay, we have PI. Evangelism is upcoming. And on a poll like this, I've had people ask, you know, how many dots do you send out generally in a poll? Something like this, where we have to kind of delay a moment for the poll to gather, I'll spend that time dotting before I cast my Rift on the gather. This is an Evangelism. Collapsed my Rift a second early for the damage. And lost a little bit of value on the Evangelism. The pet was still active there. That's okay. Okay, coming up into these rooms, great place to practice your Fear Bomb, your Psychic Scream. If you're using my Platinator, all important casts will stand out as a blue color. I think I play my Fear here, but someone actually beat me to it. Yeah, that was my Fear. So I'm kind of just watching in this mass of mobs. Grabbed and execute. I'm watching for a blue cast to pop up. Playing your Fear there is a good idea. The more utility you can bring to a key, the better, regardless of your role. Okay, we have Ultimate Penitence. I believe I play it over here. A couple of dots waiting on the gather. Radiance into the Rift. And I like playing Radiance before the Rift because we're guaranteed a Shadowy Penance, and the Radiance gives us extra bolts on those Shadowy Penance. And you might want to rewatch that Uppies too. I think I did that one maximized, but I played a Penance before I went up, just getting some dot spread, and I played a Radiance as I was coming down. So a true cast can fit in on the exit of the channel, and any cast, well, a channel or an instant cast can fit on the way up. Yeah, so you want to play spells on the front and back of Uppies. I think I was swooping in there to get a Fear, but someone beat me to it. Three pets out tormenting at once, pretty nice. And I've talked about it in the past, but when it comes to your action bars, you want your Penance and Death next to each other. They're your torment spells. And ideally, you want your totem frame on top of your torment spells. That's kind of like my philosophy there. Okay, this guy, there's really only two attacks you're looking for to counter with your spells. Cosmic Sting, which is coming up, hits 3 people. I'm selected, so I played Fade. It's an upfront attack followed by damage over time. Best thing you can do here also is keep your Shadow Word Pain active by spreading your dot with Penance. And the Grasp, this is our other attack you want to watch for. It is group-wide damage. Great place to place your Entropic Rift. And these mobs here, it's a shared health pool. I don't know if it's worth a global to go around and start dotting them. Except I did. But your Penance can do that. Okay. Evangelism Death, Rift Penance. Force to collapse. And that is a really strong opener when you're in execute range. Evangelism Death, those will proc pets and proc torments. Then your Mind Blast Penance triggers all of those pets to torment twice. Oh, piece of candy. So I had 4 pets out. I had multiple torments from that. And then I caused those 4 pets to both torment to all 4 torment twice more with Mind Blast and Penance. Yeah, I just watched that last round again when they were in execute. Really strong, really fun. Magics and party. See that solid border? That's my grid 2. PI's out. Grab to death. Always penancing mobs with Adopt. Death and Penance as a rotation. Spawned a pet. Proc to Torment. Areas like this is why I like Blaze of Light. I give it to myself a lot for speed. And I think we have a death here too. The tank is just really going all out. I'm not too opposed to it. It is only a 0. But we might have a death. Okay, let's see. I want to dot both of these big guys just as a base. Go ahead and paints up the tank. Evangelism and Rift. Smite, then death. Uh-oh. Yeah, I like working in that smite first. And I think that was a missed fear opportunity. I'd have to replay that personally, but I think that fear went off that I could have controlled. But another note, quick note, about why I play a smite before the death. Has to do with your pet's like activity time. Kind of forgot what I was trying to say there, but you don't want to play your death immediately after penance. Generally, you want to delay it by 1 spell cast. And right here we have a whoopsie doopsie from our tank. I was trying to set up a grip for our evoker before I got locked out. But tanking 101, I don't know anything about tanking, but it has to be a basic skill for tanking to wait for your full party. Yeah, there's our sad evoker on the outside. Can't do crap to help him. So when it comes to the mechanics of this boss, we just had one missed. These circles that I'm standing in right now have to be soaked. There's a little upfront damage on those, and if you miss, it turns into group damage. So you notice we're all rotting right now for 20 seconds. Really hurts. Spot healed for a missing atonement before the collapse of the rift. You might not always want to or have time to cast a Radiance before a collapse, but you can always work in a spot heal, like a plea even. You could play plea, a shield, a flash heal. And it looks like it's the Death Knight that keeps missing that mechanic. So if he watches this video, well, he'll learn eventually. But he's missing those soaks over and over, and it's hurting the entire group. Ouch. Okay, but I do have uppies. Okay, so Death, Mind Blast, Penance. That's that preferred rotation where we get our death first. Triggers a lot more torments that way. Uppies. Squeezed in a death before I went up. And boom. Critiquing myself there, my collapse did miss the mob. The collapse happened after the mob died. But not too much of a problem. It's a Mythic 0, and the key was timed anyway. But yeah, looking at the damage overall, 26.4 thousand per second. Loving that as Discipline. Can't wait to get some haste and some gear. But hope you learned something from this key. All my export codes are shared on Medify. Practice on target dummies, min-maxing your uppies. And yeah, really not too much to these Mythic Zeros. Practice your fears whenever you can. And yeah, that's about it. So go check out my Medify, book a private lesson. All my codes are shared over there. Please give a comment, like, and a subscribe to the video. And if you've made it this far, let me know if you like the new title screen. I spent about $100 and about a day and a half of time improving it for its solid version 2. Really happy with it. I think it's going to be nice going into the new expansion, so let me know how you think about that. And also, if you're still sticking around, I'm going to be expanding into doing AUG content. So let me know what you think about that. And until next time, Disc out.